Connor, you have a sweet Kentucky mudslide.
This is a tough team right here.
You got to pump it up, don't you know?
Like I have to go with Holtz is right now.
You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up.
Pump it up, pump it up, pump it up, Trent. You got to pump it up. Big weekend in Ann Arbor. I know that you're geeked up for it. You're excited for it. Dude, I mean, I knew that there were going to be celebrities, figured there would be a guest picker that was coming in. Obviously, with Big Noon kickoff crew being there, that's a big deal. ESPN College Game Day, that's a big deal. But as we've seen on social media, all of the people that are going to be in Ann Arbor this weekend, it feels a little bit insane to me. It feels a little bit surreal. Like Michael Phelps, Derek Jeter, Will Ferrell's going to be walking around. Matthew McConaughey is going to be walking around. It's going to feel like Ann Arbor is a little version of Hollywood. I know that you're excited, Trent, to get into Ann Arbor. You got to make the drive up from Ohio. But once you get here, get to Ann Arbor, you're planning on checking out the scene a little bit in the morning. I'm curious. You've seen the lineup. You know that Moneybag Yo is going to be over there performing at the Big Noon kickoff stage. Where are you going to be spending your time? Who are you most excited to see?
Well, so I know that Big Noon kickoff is probably going to be and Barstool will be the closest to the Big House.
No doubt.
So more than likely I'm going to be around that area, probably more so towards the Big Noon. I did see that they were actually going to start an hour earlier. So instead of doing 10 a.m., they're going to be starting at 9 a.m. So that area should be pretty pumping by 9 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want a bunch of people flocking over to the College Game Day crew because we were talking about this before over at Ferry Field. I mean, that's a bit of a hike to get over there from the Big House. So, I mean, that's a little bit unfortunate, Trent, because you're going to miss your boy. You're not going to be over there checking out Pat McAfee, I guess. You're going to miss Nick Saban and Desmond. Are you sad about that? I mean, you and Pat McAfee are going to be within shouting distance, but you're not going to be able to see him. I imagine that's a bummer for you.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping to get on there, do a little guest segment. But, if he can't see that I'm even there, then obviously I'm not going to get any type of an offer.
Just tell him. Send him an email tonight and be like, hey, Pat, I'm a podcaster too. Okay. I do this really highly active podcast 3 nights a week. We'll see what happens. Shoot your shot. No, I mean, it's going to be, I think it's just going to be incredible. And it's one of those games that I think that, you get this once or twice during a season if you're lucky. And sometimes it happens on the road. Sometimes it happens at home. And when you look at just everything that's going to be occurring in Ann Arbor, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a madhouse. It's going to be everything that I think makes college football great on steroids. And, the heart of it all, you've got Michigan, Texas. Now we know the uniform is the all blues. I do want to ask you about that, Trent. Do you think Michigan maybe missed the mark by going with the all blues, just given how big of a brand Michigan is and big of a brand Texas is, 2 blue blood, 2 historic programs? Would you have preferred to see the traditional maize bottom blue top for that matchup against Texas and the all whites? I
mean, yeah, kind of. I love the old traditional look of that. But with that being said, I did see today Michigan's 17-1 when they wear the all blues.
10-0 at home.
So I mean, the record kind of speaks for itself when they're playing a big game and they wear these big blues. I mean, they've only lost 1 time. So that maybe that means something. Maybe this is a good luck charm for them that they're going to go out there and bring home a W.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly going to put it to the test. Is there anybody picking Michigan? Have you seen any analyst that's favoring Michigan in this game? I know that Ohio State fans love to do the whole, Ohio against the world sort of thing. I know Ryan Day was really screaming that into the microphone after that Notre Dame game. But I mean, it truly feels like it is Michigan versus the world. It's Michigan against the world in this one. I have not seen anybody that thinks Michigan's going to pull this out, which is insane given how successful the Wolverines have been at home. You got the winning streak there. I mean, it's just, they haven't lost a game in that building since 2020. And I would venture to say that every single analyst out there thinks Texas is going to walk in and hand it to the Wolverines. So we're going to get into all of that in this show. There's a couple of things I want to do first. first things first, I forgot to do this on Wednesday's show. So I want to give a shout out to the guys at Mitten State Sports Corner. Mitten State Sports Corner, they were set up outside of Pioneer for the Fresno State game. They were helping move some winged helmet merchandise. They had some people stop over. They were also raffling off 2 tickets to the week 3 Arkansas State game. And we've got a winner for those tickets, and I want to make sure I get his name correct. So it's the raffle from Mitten State Sports Corner. If you went over there, you were part of the raffle. We've got a winner for the 2 tickets, and that winner is Bradley Rubel. Bradley Rubel, if you went and paid those guys a visit over at Pioneer High School, you are the winner of 2 Arkansas State tickets. So get in touch with Brett and Brett from Mitten State Sports Corner, or I'm sure they'll be getting in touch with you shortly. But congratulations. Appreciate your support and appreciate the guys from Mitten State Sports Corner as well. A couple of good guys. They run a podcast over there, and I would encourage people to go follow and tune in. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's get to some other business from last week as well. Our predictions, I guess if you want to call them that. I mean,
Connor, you have a sweet Kentucky mudflap.
Did you hear Wink Martindale, by the way, talking about his mullet? And he was on the Pat McAfee show. Like, Martindale's got a little bit of a mullet. He was complimenting somebody else's mullet. And I guess I wasn't aware that you call it a Tennessee mudflap?
Connor, you have a sweet Kentucky mudflap.
Kentucky mudflap? I mean, that's pretty aggressive. Didn't you? What were the terms? You're going to grow out a Kentucky mudflap.
Yeah, if Michigan doesn't lose a regular season game, I will. So this is a big one right here tomorrow. It's a big game for myself to grow out a mullet.
We're one step closer to the Kentucky mudflap for Trent. Now that I'm looking at you, I feel like you're the kind of guy that would look pretty good in a mullet. Nice, like primmed mullet, well put together. Show's really starting to go off the rails now. Let's get to the predictions from last week to see how bad that we did. Trent, I know you've got yours. I'll start out with mine. I went 1-4. 1-4 last week. So I'm sorry if you're following me for gambling advice. If you think I have any clue what I'm talking about, I don't. I'm just a guy who says things. I went 1-4. I thought that Donovan Edwards was going to have a touchdown run of over 60 yards. I could not have been further off on that one. Obviously, he struggled week 1. I'm not willing to give up on the Don quite yet, and we'll get to that in our predictions for the Texas game, but I was off on that. Number 2, I was off on the orgy in the end zone because I said it was going to be a rushing touchdown. Didn't think he was going to throw for a touchdown, but he did right out of the gate, but I was wrong. He did not get a rushing touchdown in the evening. Number 3, I was wrong on Khalil Mullings. I thought he was going to get Troy Flint as I cost him money. I apologize, man. Like I said, I just say stuff. There's really nothing of substance behind it. But I did think Khalil Mullings was going to get in the end zone twice. He didn't get a touchdown, but he did look solid on the ground. A lot to like about Khalil Mullings' performance, but I was wrong there. And I was also wrong on the fact that the Michigan defense wouldn't give up a touchdown all evening. They gave up one in the 4th quarter to Fresno State. And quite honestly, their offense looked pretty solid against that Michigan defense, and so I think that's going to be something to keep your eye on against the Texas offense. The only thing I did get right, Trent, was that the Michigan defense would force two turnovers. Of course, you got Zeke Berry in the 1st quarter with the interception, and then Will Johnson to cap it off with the pick 6. I think he went, 86 yards to the house 86. Or something like that. So the Michigan Wolverines, look, I'm going to have to get better in my picks this week. I feel a little more confident now that we've seen things play out. We've got a game under our belt. Trent, how did you do? I went 1-4. How were you on your picks from last week?
I was positive. I went 3-2.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And the 2 that I missed, I wasn't off all that much. So let's start off with the ones I lost. I predicted that Michigan would record 4 or more sacks. They had 3. So that was close. The Michigan defensive line was pretty aggressive. Josiah Stewart, Derek Moore, they were great. The other thing was I predicted that both Dono and Khalil Mullings would have 75 or more rushing yards each. Khalil got it for me. Dono did not.
Yeah.
All right. So the predictions that I got correct. I predicted that both Alex Orji and Davis Warren would both throw a touchdown pass. Alex Orji, first play that he was in there, touchdown pass. So got that for me. I predicted Michigan would record 2 or more interceptions. And then I also predicted that Michigan would hold Fresno State to less than 80 yards on the ground. And they held them to 9 yards. So I went 3-2.
They sure did. Yeah. I mean, so we're going to keep track of this throughout the season and really, at the end of it, we're going to know who knows ball, who doesn't know ball. And after week 1, I mean, I'm hurting here. I need to have a good week 2 to get myself back into the game. So let's just move right into the segment, Trent. We were doing bold predictions, but I like this better as a buy or sell segment. So that's how we're going to do it. But these are 5 things that Trent and I think are going to happen. And then we're going to ask the other guy, are you buying or selling it? So Trent, I'll get us started off here. Buy or sell Donovan Edwards. I want to know where you're at with this. I've got Donovan Edwards going over 100 yards on Saturday against the Texas Longhorns. I think he gets back on track. Are you buying or selling Donovan Edwards over 100 on Saturday?
Is that straight rushing yards?
Straight rushing on the ground. Straight rushing.
Sell that, man. Sell it.
This is a tough team right here.
No, I don't. I definitely don't think he's going to get 100 yards. I do think we're going to see more than 27 yards out of him, but I think we might see closer to that 60, 65 yard mark. I definitely selling 100 though.
You're based on the limited sample size that we have from week 1. I think sell is probably the smart play right there. But you know me, I'm a guy that leads with my heart. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Damn it. I'm buying it because, and I've seen it in the comments right here. Troy from the Facebook page says, big game Don will show up. I believe that. Look, Donovan Edwards, there's no question that he struggled against Fresno State. Did he struggle? Yes. Did the offensive line also struggle? Yes. I think there were more things at play than just Donovan Edwards. But if there's one thing we've learned about Donovan Edwards during his time in Ann Arbor, he shows up when it matters most. We saw it in the national championship game. We've seen it against Ohio State in Columbus. This guy is a big play waiting to happen. And so in order for him to get to 100 yards, I mean, dude, you rip off a 60-yard run and you get another chunk play here and there, and you can get to 100 pretty quickly. I think that's what's going to happen on Saturday. I don't think it's going to be a grinded out 25 carries to 100 yards, but I do think we can expect a couple of big plays on the ground from Dono. So I am going to buy 100 yards from Donovan Edwards rushing, which is a bold one considering I went 1-4 last week. We'll see how it turns out this week, but strong out of the gate. Trent, you're up.
So based on your buy or sell question, I already know where you're going to lean toward this one. All right, Chris, buy or sell that Kalel Mullings has more carries than Donovan Edwards?
Ooh. I would I'd be inclined to buy that, because I think Dono, he can have 12, 13 carries, and I think he can still get to 100 yards. But I could see a situation where you're leaning on Khalil Mullings a little bit, and maybe he has 15, 16, 17 type carries. We also heard that Benjamin Hall was going to get involved in this game. Maybe a little bit of Jordan Marshall in there, but I will buy Khalil Mullings more carries than Donovan Edwards.
Wow, that kind of shocks me, actually. I figured with you thinking he's going to get 100 yards, I figured he's either going to break a couple really long runs or he's going to be that bell cow that.
And that's what we've seen, right? That's what we've seen from Donovan Edwards. That's how he gets to. I mean, we saw it against Penn State in 2022. I think it was at home. That was a top 10 matchup. Mays out in the big house. Like, I think he was over 200, or was it 170 yards on that afternoon? Whatever it was, there were big plays left and right out of him. So I think we're going to see something more reminiscent of that on Saturday.
Yeah, I think I'm buying that. I think that when you're Michigan, you're going to want to establish the run game, and I feel like Kalel Mullings is that in between the tackle carrier that you're going to want to lean on. Obviously, Donovan Edwards, he is a big play just waiting to happen. They're going to want to get him outside a little bit, but just the Michigan way is to pound the rock up the middle, and that's, to me, that's Kalel Mullings all day long. So I do think he'll get more carries.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm right there with you, and I think that's ultimately how it's going to play out. Switching back to me, and look, it worked for me week 1. It was the only thing that worked for me week 1, so I'm not going to go away from it week 2. I've got Michigan defense forcing another 2 turnovers on Saturday. I mean, shit, dude, Michigan forced like 3 turnovers on a single drive against Fresno State. Unfortunately, they all got called back, but I think the Michigan defense forces another 2 turnovers on Saturday. Trent, are you buying or selling the Michigan defense 2 turnovers?
I think they're going to have at least one. I don't know that Texas is a very sloppy offensive team. I feel like Quinn Ewers is a veteran. I do see him making at least one mistake, but to think 2, I think I'll go ahead and sell that. I do believe I think he'll throw 1 interception though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm buying it. I think that defensive front is going to cause issues for Quinn Ewers. I think that even though we view Texas as high octane, an offense that's going to score a lot of points, it's not going to be easy to come by on this Michigan defense. And I think that it's going to put Quinn Ewers in a tight spot where he's going to have to force some things, maybe get rid of the ball sooner than he wants. And I think that Michigan defensive front with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart, and Derek Moore, I think they're going to cause some issues. And so I am definitely buying 2 turnovers. I think it could be more, but it's going to be at least 2 turnovers on Saturday. That defense is really good, and they're only going to get better week 2. Trent, back to you.
All right, Chris, sticking kind of with the Texas offense a little bit. Buy or sell that Michigan sacks Quinn Ewers 3 or more times.
I'm going to buy it because in my buy or sell, I've got 2 guys accounting for 3 sacks. So I'm going to buy that all day. And for reasons I just said, I think they're going to be highly active up front. We know that Wink Martindale likes to be aggressive. I think that, you might have to tinker with that a little bit because I don't know that you want to blitz too much against this Texas offense. We'll see what he chooses to do. But ultimately, I think the Wolverines are going to get home and get to Quinn Ewers. I think he is going to try to get the ball out quick. We saw that against, Fresno State, same type of thing. Snap the ball, look for the quick read, get it out quick and let the offense do its thing. But ultimately, I think Michigan gets home, gets to the quarterback. I am buying 3 sacks on Saturday.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't think Quinn Ewers was sacked at all last weekend. Of course, you're talking about a Colorado State team. Texas has a very good elite offensive line, but this is a big game, and that's when big-time players step up. I think Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, you're going to see a much better effort out of both of those two in the middle. It's going to collapse the pocket and let Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart eat on the edges. And then Michigan has other players, Jayshawn Barham. He can get back there. We've seen the corners get loose before to get back there. So I definitely think Michigan will make it hard on Quinn Ewers on Saturday.
Yeah, I could see Zeke Berry getting back there for a strip sack, something like that. I mean, I think this defense is going to be effective, and I think it's going to cause problems for Texas. Trent, for my third buy or sell, I've got the Michigan offense is going to commit 0 turnovers on Saturday. Buy or sell, we get 0 turnovers from the Michigan offense.
I'm just going to keep selling every single one that you have. I don't think Michigan is going to be a very turnover prone team. I think Davis Warren will be pretty safe with everything that he does. But again, we're talking about a big game atmosphere. I think Quinn Ewers will make a mistake and throw an interception. I think Davis Warren will make a mistake and throw an interception as well. I think just with the big game atmosphere, anything could happen. You're talking about one throw that could be bad. So I will sell it.
You know what, CJ? I like the way you think because it's the way that I think. I am buying it because Michigan plays relatively conservatively offensively. And I think, yeah, we saw the interception to Frederick Moore. It was a bad ball from Davis Warren. But beyond that, Michigan really wasn't trying to push the boundary or test the limits. Davis Warren played within the system, played within the offense. And I think against a team like Texas, it's going to be even more important to protect the ball, not force the issue. Lean on Colston Loveland, number 18. We saw what he could do, make the safe throws, move the chains through the air if you need to in the short and intermediate passing game. But hopefully you can lean on that rushing attack to really move the sticks and get you to where you need to be. So I'm going to buy it for that reason. I don't think Michigan is interested in taking risks offensively. I think they're going to play within the system. If they don't get the first down, they'll punt it and they'll play field position and lean on that Michigan defense to get them where they want to be. I'm buying it. Trent, back to you.
All right. So Samaj Morgan had 8 receiving yards last weekend. Are you buying or selling that he's going to have 50 or more yards through the air?
I am going to sell that. I need to see it first out of Samaj Morgan. We know that he's got the big play capability. We saw it particularly in special teams last season. He's obviously a guy who's quick. He's got the athleticism, but I just think that I need to see it happen on Saturday first before I want to get there. And to be honest, the entire wide receiver group just looked a little underwhelming. Once again, it's not all on them. There's a lot of parts to this thing that really require it to work well. But you said 50 yards receiving?
50. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to go under on that.
Yeah, it's my prediction. So of course I'm buying it. I think that Texas is going to do everything that it can to stop Colston Loveland. We saw what he did in week 1. It's going to be Davis Warren's favorite target, and they're probably going to double him almost the whole game. So I think you're going to need either Tyler Morris or Samaj Morgan to break loose. Samaj Morgan, kind of like Donovan Edwards, he's also a big play just waiting to happen. 50 yards could be one play for Samaj Morgan. He could break loose and take it the distance. And I think that Michigan will need either Morris or Morgan to step up tomorrow. And my money's on Samaj Morgan.
Yeah, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably lean Tyler Morris a little bit. But yeah, Samaj Morgan, obviously capable of making big plays. And I mean, I think if he goes over 50 yards receiving for Michigan on Saturday, that's obviously going to be a good indication of, the Michigan offense being able to utilize and lean on what he can provide offensively. So hopeful to see that for sure. Getting back to what I talked about a little bit before when we were talking about sacks and how many times Michigan was going to get to the quarterback. Trent, buy or sell? I've got Josiah Stewart and Derek Moore combining for 3 sacks on Saturday. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I love that. I'll buy it. Just going back to last week, I think Josiah Stewart, his level of play was tremendous. Derek Moore, I don't think he didn't tally a sack, I don't believe, but he was almost equally as impressive as Josiah Stewart off the edge. He assisted Josiah Stewart. And going back to Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, I think they're going to be the two that really collapse that pocket, which is going to allow Stewart and Moore to get the sack on Quinn Ewers. So I will definitely buy that.
Yeah, same. And obviously we saw Josiah Stewart. He graded out really well. I mean, his stock is rising. NFL scouts are taking note of number 0 there on the defense. But, to your point, Derek Moore was also pretty solid, and he forced a lot of the offense and a lot of the plays to have to go towards Josiah Stewart, where he was waiting to make a play on the ball. And so I think those two guys combined, I certainly see a scenario where we get 3 combined sacks out of them on Saturday. You know how it is. They're going to be all lathered up. They're ready to play this game. This is what we've heard it all week. This is what you come to Michigan for. I think that defense is going to be ready to go. And I think Josiah Stewart and Derek Moore get at least 3 sacks combined on Saturday. So I will buy. Trent, back to you.
As impressive as we all believe that Jayshawn Barham is going to be, he only had 2 tackles last week.
Yeah.
Buy or sell that he has 8 or more tackles?
I'm going to buy it. I mean, it was just his first game at Michigan, not like that's any sort of excuse, but being down on the field, like I could just see how active he was, how athletic he was. To me, this is a guy that's going to make a lot of plays in the winged helmet, and I think it's going to start on Saturday. We're going to see his level of play go up considerably. He's violent. He likes to get scrappy. He doesn't mind getting a little chippy after the play. I think he's going to be ready for this one. You said 8 tackles on Saturday? Yeah, I'll buy 8 tackles from Jayshawn Barham for sure.
When I was making these predictions, I actually initially had 10 tackles down. I'm like, that might be a little much, but I think he can. So of course I'm going to buy the 8. I think that I think by the end of the season, he's going to be one of the best players on this Michigan defense. I think he's probably going to lead the team in tackles. He's aggressive. He's physical. He's fast. And I think Texas is going to have to force some stuff in the middle of the field where Jayshawn Barham will be at, where he's going to make the play.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. And I'm right on there with you. This is going to be my last buy or sell here. And I didn't think I was going to have this on my list, but based on what we saw week 1, I think that this is going to work pretty well for the Wolverines throughout the season, just given what the expectation is when Alex Orji comes into the game. So Trent, buy or sell? Alex Orji has another touchdown pass on Saturday.
Wow. I'll buy that. I'll buy it because I think that Texas, obviously they're going to prepare for Alex Orji throwing the football, but it's all on tape of what he does. He runs the football. And obviously when he comes in and you have Donovan Edwards in the backfield, you're going to have to prepare for that read option. And if he keeps it and he throws it, it's kind of an element of surprise waiting to happen. And if they're toward the goal line like they were last weekend, I think it's very possible that we see the same exact thing happen again.
Yep, 100%. And I see a lot of people in the comments, they are selling. But Tony Petrosky, he says, yeah, a shorty for 5 yards. That's exactly how I see it playing out. Michigan gets in the red zone. They're near the goal line. You bring Alex Orji in. Everybody in the stadium thinks they know what's going to come. He rolls out to the right, looks like he's going to run it in, and then he tosses it to the back of the end zone. That's how I see it playing out. So I'm certainly going to buy Alex Orji with another passing touchdown, which means he'll be, I don't know, he's probably going to end up being 2 of 3 on on the season for 2 touchdown passes. Not bad for Alex Orji. You'd like to see more out of him, but pretty solid in the capacity. And then obviously I think he's going to do what he does in the run game, but I think he gets another passing touchdown on Saturday. Trent, last one for you.
For as much hype and love that the Texas passing game gets, the rushing attack is not bad at all. They racked up 190 yards last weekend against Colorado State. I know that CJ Baxter went down, but they got a kid named Jadon Blue. He's pretty solid too. So buy or sell that Michigan holds Texas to under 100 rushing yards tomorrow.
I will buy it. I will buy it. I mean, I just, my entire belief on how this game is going to play out relies on what I think I'm going to see out of the defense on Saturday. I just don't think Michigan is going to be giving up any big plays. And we saw it against Fresno State. This is not an easy defense to run on. Now, are there questions in the secondary? Did they give up some plays through the air? Absolutely. But I don't think Michigan has any intention of letting the running game get going. They're going to force Quinn Ewers. We've heard all about the passing game. You're going to have to beat us with your arm. And I think that there's weapons there in the secondary that can make Quinn Ewers pay for that. So I am going to sell that. I don't think I don't think Texas gets over 100 yards on the ground.
Yeah, I agree. And it just kind of goes back to Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham up the middle. Then you have Rayshon Benny that comes in there. It's just so much there that it's going to be hard for Texas to get it going. Obviously they're going to want to run the football, but Texas is going to have to, I believe, pass the football to win and get things going. So yeah, I'll buy that.
Sean from the Facebook page says I'm buying everything. I'm about to go broke. I'm not really buying everything. I don't know. I just feel like I don't feel like we're going too far out on a limb. I think most of what we're talking about here is,
all right, Chris, buy or sell. Donovan Edwards runs for 200 yards.
Buy, give it to me.
This is a tough team right here.
And then the big brother from the YouTube page, he asks real quickly, why is the over under so low? Only 42.5. I mean, Trent, do you want to speak on that a little bit? Because I think people are looking at Texas. They put up 52 points last weekend against Colorado State. Michigan put 30 points on the board. A lot of people looking at this thinking it could be a high scoring affair. Why do you think that over under is so low at 42.5?
Well, I think it speaks to both sides of the ball. I think when you look at Michigan, it was very underwhelming offensively. I don't think the bookies believe that Michigan's just going to snap their finger and their offense is going to turn into some prolific attack. And then you look at Michigan's defense. It is going to be a top 5 defense in the nation by the end of the season. Yeah, Texas scored 52 points, but they were playing Colorado State. They weren't playing Michigan. And it's very hard to believe that Texas is going to score 30 or more points. And if they do, then of course there's a very good chance that Michigan or that it goes over. But I think it just speaks to the lackluster Michigan offense and then also the elite Michigan defense.
Yeah, 100%. You're right. And I don't see any scenario where, I mean, sure, it's a long shot, but I just don't see Texas coming in and running up the score and putting up 40 points on the scoreboard. I mean, it's for as many questions as we have about the Michigan offense, to Trent's point, the Michigan defense is still elite. It's still one of the best in the country. And I think that it's going to give Texas some fits. And I said this in our score prediction, which we're going to get to here next, but I don't think Texas is as good as many people are making them out to be. And I don't think Michigan is as bad as many people are making them out to be. And I think because of that, we're going to see a closer contest than maybe some of the fans out there think we're going to see. So to me, look, it might be at what, 42.5? Is that what it was listed at? I took it down, 42.5. Yeah. Trent and I are both quite a bit over on our score predictions here. So we're going to get into that next. Trent, as we're approaching almost 29 minutes here, let's get into the final part of the show. I want to know how you see this thing playing out. I think we kind of already have an idea of where each of us stand based on the article that we put out today, but let me hear your game prediction. How do you see this playing out? What do you see the score?
Well, Chris, I kind of, before the season began, I've been saying all along that I think Michigan is going to beat Texas. Obviously, week 1 happened, and it did change my mind a little bit. Michigan offensively, I'm like, are they going to be able to score enough points to keep up with Texas? But then you kind of sit back and think about the game a little bit more. Yeah, Texas scored 52 points, but they weren't facing this Michigan defense. And as the saying goes, teams improve from week 1 to week 2. And I fully believe that the Michigan offensive line is going to look better. I do believe that both Donovan Edwards is going to get better. And then I think Khalil Mullings will even improve more from week 1. And then going back to the defense, I think that Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, neither of them had their best performances that they've ever had for Michigan. Honestly, it could have been two of the maybe towards the bottom performances that they had. And like I said earlier, big time players step up in big time games. And I think with those two, Will Johnson, Jayshawn Barham, I think Michigan's going to have enough playmakers on the defensive side of the ball that they can hold down that Texas offensive attack. So I've got the final score being 27-24 Michigan. I think they're going to kick a late field goal to win the game.
Chris Hamill right there from the Facebook page. You heard it there first from Trent. He's got it 27-24. W for the good guys in the big house. I mean, look, if Michigan gets the win on Saturday, the narrative currently surrounding this team is going to shift dramatically, but we know what it's going to be, right? Well, Texas just wasn't as good as everybody thought. It's not going to be, we're not trying to give Michigan any credit, even though everybody thinks Michigan's going to get their ass kicked. If the Wolverines win, the narrative is just going to be, well, Texas wasn't very good. And then we'll continue to do this week in and week out. But I think it's solid prediction from you, Trent. Look, I agonized over this because preseason, when we were doing our season predictions and how the record was going to play out, I unfortunately had Michigan at 9-3, and there were some concerns I had on the roster. And then when you look at the schedule, there's those 5 games there where I think it's just going to be tough sledding for Michigan. And then they've got to be perfect in every single game outside of those 5 games. You know how college football is. Sometimes things happen. But Trent, I don't know. I look at 29 straight regular season wins for Michigan, 29 straight regular season wins. 23 consecutive at home. They have not lost a game in Ann Arbor since the 2020 season. And I've said it before. I think this is the fork in the road for the Michigan football program. This is the difference between 9-3 or worse or 10-2 or better. And as I often do, it's like, do I go with my head or do I go with my heart here? It really feels like this one could go either way. But I said this going into this segment that I don't think Texas is as good as people think, and I don't think Michigan is as bad as everybody thinks. So ultimately for me, Trent, the deciding factor is the Michigan defense. I think Texas is going to be frustrated. I think Ewers is going to be forced into making some mistakes. And I think that the Wolverines are going to make him pay throughout the afternoon. So I'm going with my heart here. Even though I have Michigan at 9-3, until somebody proves that they can beat the Wolverines in the big house, look, you can call me a fan, you can call me whatever you want, but the safe bet is on Michigan winning on Saturday because that's all they've done over the last 3 years. So give me the Wolverines. I think the Michigan defense gives up 3 touchdowns to Texas and a field goal. I think the Michigan offense scores 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals, including the game winner from Dominic Zavada. We know he's got the big leg. We know what he's capable of. Trent, great minds think alike. I've got Michigan 27, Texas 24, Zavada with the game winner. What an incredible thing that would be if it turns out that way. But again, like, I think that's how it's going to turn out, but I don't know that I've ever gone into a game thinking that anything is possible, right? Texas could go in there and it become a track meet, and they could put up 40 or 50 points on the board. Michigan defense could come out and hold Texas to 10 points. I mean, there's really a huge swing that could happen in this game, but ultimately I settle in the middle. I think defense wins the day. Michigan 27, Texas 24. That's where we're at.
Yeah, that's how I kind of viewed it when I was making this prediction, that Michigan, it doesn't matter how they've looked week 1, week 2. When they play a tough opponent, they step up their game. Michigan's been a team for the last 3 years that kind of matched their opponent. I mean, Fresno State, they were a little lackluster. Go back last season. They weren't that great in the first 3 games when they were playing easier opponents, but when they played somebody tougher, they really step up their game. And until somebody can come into the big house and beat Michigan, it's really, really tough to pick against Michigan. With that being said, though, if Texas does come in and win the game, I don't think any of us is going to be surprised about it. Texas is a good team. And, and just because even if Texas would beat Michigan, it doesn't mean Michigan's season's over. They still have the whole Big Ten conference to go, and they'll keep getting better each game. But until somebody comes into the big house and takes down the defending national champions, it's really tough to pick against them.
Well, that's not going to be the narrative, though. If at least the mood of Michigan fans, if they don't win this game on Saturday, the sky. I mean, dude, after a 30-10 victory against Fresno State, people were freaking out on various podcasts talking about, Michigan is now the new Iowa, and we got to make a change here, and we got to change this, and we got to do this. Like, I'm pretty sure Michigan covered against Fresno State, and I'm pretty sure they won by 20, and it was week 1, and you've got some things you got to work out. So. Dude, I'm excited, man. We'll be back in the big house on Saturday, top 10 matchup. Everybody in the world, everybody flying in from Hollywood, plus myself and Trent, and of course, Matt is going to be joining us. We'll be in the big house as well to take it all in. We're going to be putting up as much good content about this game as we possibly can, and then we will be back next week, probably on Monday, but definitely on Wednesday for Fan-Led Wednesday to talk all about it. Trent, I hope the next time we get on here, man, we're talking about a Michigan victory, a move up in the top 10. I don't know. Maybe we start talking like, is this a national championship team? Davis Warren now squarely in the Heisman race? I don't know. We'll find out after Saturday.
If Michigan wins this, they might jump up. They'll probably jump up into the top 5. I'm calling it now. If they win this game, top 5. Yep.
Top 5 team, says Trent. We'll be back on Wednesday to talk about all of it. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Saturday.
And my stomach is sick, and it's all in my head, but she's